Hi, my name is Jordan Milner, and this is my video for Chapter 10. Thank you everyone for coming and giving up some of your plan time today so that we could discuss a strategy that I know many of you are already using, but I want to discuss what we can be doing better to benefit students and also any concerns that you guys have. The skill I'd like to discuss is ability grouping, and we know that ability grouping means grouping students according to their talents in the classroom. And so I'd like to just kind of talk about some of the benefits and some of the concerns based on research and also based on what I've heard from teachers. So some of the benefits, as you guys already know, one of the major benefits is that you get to work with smaller groups of students. And we know that the smaller the group, the better it really is for the students learning when you can really just focus on a few students at a time. And so when you group them by ability, you might have 6 groups of 5, which is a lot better than 30 students. Another major benefit is that students are able to work at their own pace and their own level because they're with like peers, and so you don't have that situation where you have a kiddo who has this down and then you have kiddos who need you pretty much right beside them. So you can really split that up and make it so that they're working at their level where they're comfortable at. Another major benefit is that it challenges students, especially your gifted students, because I know that sometimes when you are teaching whole group, it's very difficult when you have gifted students in the room who are already done with the assignment or the independent practice in 2 minutes and they've got it correct, so why should they continue to work on something that they know already? So this allows you to differentiate that and really challenge them, but also it challenges your middle of the road kids because you figure out what level they're at and you push them, and it challenges your lower ability kids because you also figure out where they're at and you try to push them to really use that skill. Another major benefit is for your struggling learners, because while your higher ability groups or your middle of the road groups are able to do more independent practice, you can really work with your lower ability kids on reinforcing that skill and reteaching that skill. So the groupings allow you to just do a lot of differentiation in an easier way, because it is hard to differentiate for all the different levels of kids, and we want to make sure all of our kids are being successful. Some of the concerns that research has shown, and also that we've noticed in the building at times, is that sometimes your kiddos who are kind of frequent flyers in the lower ability groups tend to then perform lower already because they feel like the expectations are lower for them. And so one of the things we need to make sure we're doing is still challenging those students even if they are considered a low ability student, so that we don't have that happen. Another problem in the past was that we would keep students in the same groups for every subject area and every topic and every skill that we're teaching, and they're not always going to be high ability in every single skill or low ability in every single skill. So it's really important that we are constantly reevaluating those groups so that kids can really shine, and that also when there is an area that they're struggling in, that we can really support them, because they're going to be really good at some things and there's going to be other things that they really need some support in. They're not going to be great at everything and they're not going to be terrible at everything, and so we need to recognize that. Just like we are not great at everything and we're not terrible at everything, you know, we each have our own strengths, and so we need to recognize that in our students too. So right now I would like for you to just discuss with your colleagues how you are determining which kids are in what group. All right, thank you for discussing that. So I heard a lot of great ideas. One of the ideas that I heard that I really like is that people are using exit tickets to determine groups. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but what that would look like is you would teach a skill, and then at the end of the class period, the students would take an exit ticket, and then based on that data, you can split your kids up into groups. So the kids that have it, your higher ability ones, you can be pushing them to really apply that skill or maybe teach that skill. Your middle of the road kids who kind of have that can get some more independent practice, and then you can also see which kids really did not get it and need that reteaching. And the other thing that's really awesome about using exit tickets in that way is that, you know, you might have a kid who totally gets graphing and mean, median, mode, and range in math class, and so they're in that high ability group, they've got it, they can teach other kids, but then when you get to geometry, it just might not make sense to them at all, and so then, hey, they're moving into that lower ability group. The beauty of it is they never have to know what group they're in, and because they're getting to move groups, they get to work with lots of other students, and they'll really appreciate that. So I think that's an awesome way to do that. The major thing that I want to discuss with with creating those groups is that we don't constantly keep kids in the same group for every skill, because we teach numerous amounts of skills throughout the year and they're not going to be at the same level for every skill. And also, they may start in a lower ability group, let's say for reading, but then you really work with them and that kiddo works really, really hard, then that's a chance for them to move up into a little bit higher level group. And so we need to be aware of that also. So bringing that all together, here's some ability grouping do's, things we want to make sure that we're doing. We want to make sure that, like we said earlier, that we're changing the groups for each skill area and we're giving kids the opportunity to move from group to group based on how they're doing. Another thing we want to do is make sure that we're challenging each group. So even the kids in the low ability group, yes, we want to come down to their level, but we still want to push them and challenge them to really be using that skill. Another great thing that we do is celebrate student success, but we also need to make sure that when we're using ability grouping that we're doing that. So, when that lower ability group catches on after reteaching, we have to celebrate that. Or when that high ability group comes out and teaches a lesson on it to another student, we need to celebrate that too and let kids know that the work that they're doing really is important and that they are making progress. And then finally, the last thing I want to make sure that we just touch on is that we're using several different delivery models, not just ability grouping in the classroom. It's a great supplement to instruction, and in order for it to really work well, it shouldn't be used all the time, but it should definitely be used in the classroom in the ways that we talked about. So are there any questions about any of that? All right, well, thank you so much again for giving up some of your plan time, and please, please, please let me know if you are using ability grouping in an awesome way in your classroom, because I would love to come watch. Thanks again.